Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Get Sweaty. As usual, I am your friendly neighborhood Soda today. As usual, joined by Ben Rayner, and I am joined by the Avenger of Star City himself, Oliver Queen, aka Green Arrow, aka 50 Shades of Geek. How are you guys doing?
You have failed this city.
Shit.
I'm doing super.
Very, very nice.
Superman, to be more specific.
Yeah. So I don't know if our tires or everything is giving away the topic today, but this might be my favorite topic. Ben, if you want to go ahead and introduce it, because it is your topic, and introduce the caveats as well.
It is the top 5 DC characters. Could it be, the only caveat I put on it could not have Superman and no Batman. Everything else is fair game.
Now, for my list, I took a little step further, and I went no original Justice League members. So I think this is
because I was only informed about the no Superman or Batman pick. So
yeah, no, that was a personal choice. I did that rogue. That was just on me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so should we just might as well hop into it?
Yeah,
we're going to get a good amount of conversation out of this.
Let's do it.
Ben, you go first. This was your topic.
Hawkman.
Oh, very, very nice.
Very good. Very good.
I'm assuming the Carter Hall version?
Yes.
Okay.
More particularly the one from Smallville.
Okay, so you're including live action in here too.
I mean, okay. I hope that's okay. I hope that's okay.
Your list, you do whatever you want.
Any version counts.
Yeah.
All mine are going to beat comic books. Just letting you know.
I just found this character very grizzled, very interesting. He was like the Superman before Superman in Smallville. And I got great actor Michael Shanks to play him.
Canadian boy.
The only negative I have, I would have loved to see more of Hawkwoman. I would have loved to see the dynamic between them two, but this is my first thing, and I loved his camaraderie with Oliver Queen, aka Green Arrow. I just thought they worked really well.
Not my Oliver Queen.
That's right, yeah.
Yep. The other Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
The lesser Oliver Queen.
Which, when we did the couple episodes rewatch months ago, I realized he's underrated, and I think it's because the Arrow show came right after Smallville ended that I think Justin Hartley's version of Oliver Queen got overshadowed. But I think it's a serviceable one because it stays true to the original version of the character.
Well, this is how I look at it. Stephen Amell's Green Arrow is not Christian Bale Batman.
Because they couldn't do Batman.
Justin Hartley and a Michael Keaton Batman.
Oh, that's actually a good way to. Yeah, that's actually a very good way to put it.
They're both awesome. I'm sorry, 50?
I would say this, even though I do agree that I'm the superior Oliver Queen, that other guy was good too, for a long time. And can I just point out that even on Smallville, we first get introduced to him as Oliver Queen, as the Arrow, and he is the one that brings in the Flash into the fold. And wouldn't you know it, years later, I was the one to introduce Flash into what we now know as the Me-verse.
Very, very, very nice.
Yeah. 50. What's your number 5?
Well, to deviate from Mr. Soda, I did not go with his rule. So basically, all of mine are from the original Justice League roster. And my number 5 is a character that I believe needs more justice in live action. We've seen several versions of him, but still, this version needs more attention, and that is the Martian Manhunter.
Good character.
Not to be confused with Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes, this character has a lot to say, not just about superheroes, but also about racial equality, being also an alien who chooses to appear as a black man in America.
Yeah.
That is more relevant than most other superheroes we have today.
You're going on the modern take of the Martian Manhunter then, because originally it was a white guy.
I am aware of that.
Okay.
But yes, you are correct. Most versions, most modern versions in any case, of the character do choose to be the black version. And my favorite is the Carl Lumley version from the animated Justice League show.
Good version of the character. Yeah, a lot of Martian Manhunter is another one that while people do love him, it seems like he does kind of get lost in the shuffle because for the most part, he is another Superman. He has all the same powers except for like 2 that are different.
Yes.
Let me guys ask you this. Live action, who did you prefer more? Smallville or Supergirl? Martian Manhunter.
We could also throw it. Well, I'm gonna go Supergirls to be honest, because Smallville's we didn't see a lot of him. Whereas opposed to Supergirl, he was a main character. He's part of the team. He's got a lot to do. So I think we got more of him there. So I tend to go towards the Supergirl version of Martian Manhunter.
I think I tend to lean a little bit more towards the Smallville version, but I do see your point. And can we just all accept the fact that shoehorning him into that stupid Zack Snyder version was completely useless and unnecessary?
That whole movie was unnecessary, to be honest, but
it was cool. It was a cool thing.
It was cool, yeah.
It was cool, but it was cool for 5 minutes.
Right.
Oh, look, it's Martian Manhunter, and he does jack shit the entire time.
Well, I wonder if maybe that was a little bit of a bone to the fans, because that was a fan theory for many years, was that Colonel was indeed Martian Manhunter. So I'm wondering if maybe that was just like a little bone he was throwing out.
Whatever. Because Zack Snyder is all about pleasing the fans, am I right?
Well, hey, you got a good movie out of it, so I'm not complaining. All right, my number 5?
Yep.
Go ahead.
This is the first one where I guarantee, like, these 2 know because I mentioned it to them before. This is the first one of characters I don't think many people have ever heard of. His name is Larfleeze, not Larfreeze, like I had been saying. He is known as Agent Orange. He is essentially the Orange Green Lantern, and he is the only member of the Orange Green Lantern Corps because the Orange Green Lantern is the lantern of avarice, which for those of you who don't know, avarice is greed. Larfleeze.
Why couldn't they just call it greed? It would be much more simple.
Yeah, it would be, but we could, you know. Larfleeze is the first and for a long time the only individual to wield the power of the orange light. Little is known about his past except that he comes from an incredibly long-lived species, as Larfleeze is said to be over several billion years old. He was taken from his parents for reasons yet to be revealed and forced to work as a slave. His time as a slave was cruel and harsh. His cruel and sadistic masters starved Larfleeze and his fellow slaves in order to weed out those too weak to work in the hellish conditions they were forced to toil in. This cruelty and deprivation of even the most basic rights and privileges deeply affected Larfleeze, who at some point began to hear the material possessions and the society of the people whom he served, begging him to own them. Sometime much later, Larfleeze escaped and became a wanted criminal along with several of his species. Billions of years ago, he was part of a group of thieves who stole a number of artifacts from the planet of Maltus, including a mysterious box supposedly worth an entire solar system to the right buyer. In retaliation, the Guardians of the Universe sent their manhunters to pursue them. Those that escaped discovered a map belonging to the Guardian Krona that told of treasure. The guild followed the map into the Vega system to the planet Okara. There discovered a temple inside of which was a power battery containing the orange light of avarice. Feeling its power speak to them, the criminals fought amongst themselves for it. Eventually, the Guardians of the Manhunters found them, however, and because of its proximity to Larfleeze and the others, the Guardians could not get within reaching distance of the box. Basically, so Larfleeze is the only one left, and he sat there for billions of years hoarding all these things from around the galaxy. So you go to his planet, it's like mountains of stuff. And every time somebody goes near it,
behold my stuff.
Pretty much. And every time somebody would go near it, it's like a Golem with the ring sort of thing. He's like that kind of thing. But there is a story arc. It takes place, I believe it's before Blackest Night, where they had to get all the lanterns together. So Larfleeze had to work with everybody, and they had to track down the person that they were attacking. The person was in Vegas. They brought the agent of greed to Vegas, and it resulted in one of my favorite comic pages, and I did find it here. He realizes where he is, what's going on, and at the very end, he's like, I have arrived! Basically, Larfleeze is the comedic foil of them because of his sole purpose is to gather as many things as possible because he's a hoarder. And yeah, during that entire like run where they were introducing on the lanterns, he's the one that stuck out to me because A, he's on his own, but B, just because of his outlandish character. I love him so much.
I was introduced to this character mostly due to the Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, where you go to space and where you find all the other lanterns, and also where I made a video game cameo in Just Saying.
That's right. You did. I was going to say, wait a minute, 50 did? No, that's right. Oliver Queen did.
I don't know who this 50 is, but I definitely did. In any case, yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite characters to play in that game. His walking animation, his fighting animation, his dialogue, his everything. And also, I believe out of all the Lantern Corps, he has the most badass oath.
Yeah.
What's mine is mine, and mine and mine, and mine and mine and mine, not yours.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Short and to the point.
Yeah, he's one of the best unknown characters in DC Comics. Okay.
That's why I am still mad that the Green Lantern movie sucked as bad as it did. Because we could have had all the other lanterns by now if that movie was a success. They could have had an entire cinematic universe just with those characters.
I'll say this about that movie. Everything but the stuff with the villain is serviceable. Anything involving Parallax is shit.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, Parallax is not a giant cloud. He is a parasite that infects people and gets them to do really bad things. That's who Parallax is.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Okay. And that's actually a character that could have entered on my list, but unfortunately his main host is somebody that we all know, Hal Jordan. So that's why I never put him on the list. All right, Ben, who's your number 4?
The Atom, a.k.a. Ray Palmer.
Ooh, the original Atom. Nice. Ooh. Nice.
And I'm going off of the Legends of Tomorrow vision.
Yeah.
Who... He actually, I always forget he's not an unusual at all. But it's a fun character who is not at all, I don't want to say in, what do we call it? He's not enough, a little more serious, but once he got the Legends, they found is what he was really comfortable with, and then just expanded it. He had a great relationship with Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Noah Talk made an excellent couple. And his dynamic with Damian Talk is priceless towards the end of his tenure. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's basically Ant-Man, but gotta love Ray Palmer.
Yes, he is a good character. The version from that you are talking about is vastly different in the comics in one sense, really. It's because in the show they made him Iron Man, practically.
Iron Man, Ant-Man.
The Iron Ant-Man. Whereas in the comic books, you don't have the Iron Man equivalent of it. He's still like everything else with the character is the same, except they just added that into the show. That's the only addition.
That's one of the characters that really makes me believe that you can actually make an Iron Man show now if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and I think that's you could if he wanted to, you could easily do a spinoff with that version of Ray Palmer because he could easily hold his own show. To be honest,
yeah,
he then could have done that, but now he left.
Yeah,
sadly. Yeah.
Also, fun fact. The woman that plays Nora Dark is his actual wife.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Courtney Ford. Yeah, no, it's a great version. It is a great version of the character. Actually, to be honest, both versions are pretty good too. Because there's also in the comics a second Adam named Ryan Choi, who is actually a character introduced in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
He was also introducing Crisis.
He was also introducing Crisis, yes, by the kid from Supernatural, whose name I don't remember.
And also the Ryan Choi version is Injustice 2, the video game.
Correct.
And he's one of the most fun characters to play as, because in one push of a button, he becomes tiny and he just runs through people like paper clips.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said paper clips, but whatever.
I think you were thinking backflip. Maybe.
Or just paper soldiers. That makes more sense.
Mr. Quinn, your turn.
My number 4 is a great dear friend of mine who could potentially switch places with my number 3, but I choose to remain with my number 3 being what it is, and my number 4 is a good friend of mine, The Flash.
Which version? I'm gonna get technical in this sometimes.
My preferred version is the Barry Allen version.
Okay.
It is also the version I've seen the most.
Okay.
However, I grew up with the Wally West version without even knowing that it was Wally West until a later age in my life. So when the Justice League cartoon happened, that was my first introduction to many of these superheroes that I was not aware of previously. I was like, oh, look at that. Batman and Superman have a show together. And who are all these other people? And I was like, where's Spider-Man at one point? And then I realized, oh, there is no Spider-Man in DC. But yeah, Flash was definitely one of the characters that made the most impact on me because he was basically me, the jokester of the bunch. I know you may not see that on the show, Arrow, which is no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was very much me in that sense. And I appreciate it. They tried to make Barry Allen Wally West in the Justice League movie, but I think I much prefer the Barry Allen in the comics, who's also on his own spin-off show. And wouldn't it be just, and isn't it so perfect that Lex Luthor also voiced him while being Lex Luthor?
Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah. My favorite Lex, by the way.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Yeah, the Flash, it's like I'm in the same boat as you. Like I grew up watching Justice League, not knowing the difference between Wally West and Barry Allen, and it wasn't until I started reading the comics where I realized the difference. And it seems like everybody now, whenever they do a live action, it's just because people want Barry, people want Wally. Hey, let's just merge the two. It's like no. You should keep them distance because I think like their relationship, when it's Flash and Kid Flash, I think is an important thing in DC.
Yeah, and I appreciate it even more that they stuck to it in the live actions TV show.
Yes,
where they had Barry Allen, then introduced Kid Flash.
Yeah. One of my favorite panels is from when they did the DC Rebirth relaunch a couple years ago. There was an actual comic called DC Rebirth, and in New 52, Wally West had disappeared. Wally West, as we knew him, didn't exist. It was a different Wally West. But with the Rebirth, they managed to bring back the old Wally West by saying he was lost in the Speed Force and he has like limited time to contact people before he can, he has limited time to make people remember before he disappears forever. And when he finally reaches through to Barry Allen, it is one of the most powerful things you'll ever see in comics because it's like, shit, I remember you. And he pulls him out of the Speed Force and they hugged. And it's like, Wally's back. And it was beautiful story.
It is beautiful, yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comic books of all time is a comic book from Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 1. Superman and Flash just sitting down, playing chess, and talking about Earth politics.
I really need to read that series.
It was incredible. The Year 4 was kind of weak, and I haven't even finished Year 5 because I lost interest. But Years 1, 2, and a little bit of 3, a little bit like my show, are the best.
I think after this I might go stop by my comic book store and pick it up because I've been wanting to read it for a long time. Yeah. No, the Flash is one of the seminal. His was one of the first superhero characters I attached onto.
He's also one of the superheroes that saved DC back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yes. He's one of the first Silver Age characters, I believe.
We're talking about Barry Allen. We can't. again, I'm going to go into comic books. We cannot talk about Barry Allen without talking about the death of Barry Allen during the first Crisis. Because basically nobody knew how to end it, and he ended up sacrificing himself by pushing one of the villains all the way in the Speed Force. But when he come back, his body had exuded so much energy, he practically melted away in front of all of his friends, and they're left holding his costume, and he was dead from that point for like 20 years, I think, until they finally brought him back in Flash Rebirth. And
that is why the Wally West version is the one people remember.
Right.
That was the version used in the animated show. And that is also why a version of Barry Allen died in Crisis, the TV show event.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, Oliver and Matt. When a different Barry Allen died in Crisis, did that feel like a cop-out to you? Or were you okay with it?
I'm fine.
I mean, the entire event in and of itself was just random things being stitched together with glue and gum and paper clips, but I still enjoyed it, so I don't mind that. Out of all the other stuff you can complain about that event, that is not definitely one of them. And it was a great way to introduce Black Lightning into the show universe.
And I come... Like, I'm not a gatekeeper because I'm like a lot of fans are, because I love the concept of the multiverse, because I enjoy seeing different versions of similar people that we know. So again, coming from the comic book background, having read every single Crisis, something like that doesn't bother me, because I know there's multiple versions of these characters out there. That stuff doesn't get to me. It's, as long as the story's good, that's all I care about.
Yes. I have to say, I know everybody doesn't like it. I love Crisis. I have to
My death was glorious in that event.
I wish the people behind the show would release it as a bundle like they did with Crisis on Earth X years ago. Because with that Crisis, you can go on iTunes and then you can buy like all those episodes as like a bundle, so you can watch the whole story. They never did that with Crisis, which I think is so dumb.
I'll talk to them. I'll see what I can do.
Yes, please. And if you have to, dangle them over the ledge.
All right. I believe it is your turn, Soda.
Yeah,
it is. All right. So this is a lot of people's favorite version of this character. He's definitely up there. I'm wearing his shirt for God's sakes. It is the Connor Kent version of Superboy. This version differs from most. In the original Superboy is just a young Clark Kent. The current Superboy is the actual son of Lois and Clark, Jonathan Kent. But this version is a clone. He started off, the death of Superman happened, and yes, exactly, one of my favorite books, Teen Titans #1, the Jeff Johns run. This version of Superboy was created because Superman had just been killed by Doomsday, and they were worried that they needed somebody to protect the Earth. And so at this point, 4 different versions of Superman showed up. You got Steel, you got the Eradicator, you got Cyborg Superman, and then you got Superboy. And this is what he looked like at that time. A little bit of a punk, because remember, this was 1994. And this was at this point, he was revealed that he was indeed a clone. And then as we discovered later on, that not just does he have Superman's DNA, but he needed a human donor as well. And who is that human? None other than Lex Luthor. Yes, this version of Superboy is the love child of Lex Luthor and Superman. And that's where a lot of his struggle
doesn't sound creepy at all.
It does not sound creepy at all. No, like, yeah. Born in a petri dish. No, and that's actually one of the best things about this character is, especially when he first finds that out, is that internal struggle within himself. It's like, shit, okay, I've got the world's greatest hero's DNA, and I got the world's craziest mad scientist DNA. Like, which one am I gonna fall after? And that's actually something that appears in every version of Superboy that has come since. So we saw it in Smallville, we saw it in Young Justice. Not sure for Seeking and Titans, probably will as well. But yes, actually, honestly, one of my favorite things that ever involved this character was actually when he returned from the dead. So in Infinite Crisis, the second Crisis, he died at the hands of Superboy Prime because Superboy Prime did not like the idea that there was more than one Superboy. So he ends up killing him. Later on in a book called Legion of Three Worlds, which is where I got the idea for this tattoo from, They brought him back via the same process that they brought Superman back all those years ago. However, with him, because he's a clone, it took 1,000 years instead of like 30 days. He's brought back into the future to fight Superboy Prime along with a resurrected Bart Allen, and they end up taking Superboy Prime down and are reunited with the Teen Titans, and it's just a great little reunion episode. Connor Kent is a great character in my opinion. Also the easiest to cosplay. All you need is a pair of jeans and this shirt, you're good.
Yeah. And people often mistake this shirt as just, they see it as, oh look, you're wearing a Superman shirt, and you're like, no.
No, this is Connor Kent, Superboy.
I have a friend at work who has the Superman logo with the American flag in it, not realizing that it's actually a different Superman. It is the Calvin Harris Superman. The Superman logo in and of itself is incredibly iconic, very recognizable, and used in a wide variety of different things. And also something I realized only this week, has anyone ever noticed that Pumbaa's nose looks disturbingly like an upside-down Superman logo?
Now I do.
Or am I the only one?
No, I see it now.
I only figured it out yesterday. But yes, this was my Lion King reference for the day. Thank you.
Yeah, but back to the symbol. Up around here where I live, there's a big indigenous population in Canada. And one of the things that they did is they took the Superman logo and they actually modified it to themselves. So instead of an S, like the S is still there, but it's designed with Native American drawings. So it could be like a whale or whatever. I'm trying to find a picture, but unfortunately I can't. If I ever see one in town, I will take a picture and send it to you because it's really cool. This is really cool.
When did that happen?
This is just a local thing. So it's within the last like 10 years or so that I've noticed.
Because it's weird that in Smallville, they actually introduced the idea that the Native Americans actually worshipped Superman before he came to Earth. Yeah. So it's a little bit of interesting life imitating art.
Well, maybe there is some connection to it because after all, Smallville was filmed in Vancouver.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I have seen a few scenes being filmed by accident.
There you go.
Show off.
Oh, just right place, right time. Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 4. It's Connor Kent. Con-El, his Superman is Kryptonian name that Clark gave to him, however you want to call him.
Also, if you haven't already, check out Young Justice. There's a great version of Superboy on that show.
Agreed.
And the Smallville episode with Connor is beautiful. I recommend it. It's season 10, the final season, Scion.
Yeah, I wish we had gotten more of that character, but it is what it is. Yeah. Okay, Ben, your numero 3.
Brainiac from Smallville.
Nice. Now, again, I got to be specific. Are you talking like the season 5 villain Brainiac, or are you talking Brainiac 5? Okay.
Villain. Yeah, we got much more with it. We got like 3
I know, but I just wanted to. Again, this is my topic. Like this is like okay. This is like let's get it right. And I'm trying to be nice about my gatekeeping. No,
you're a good gatekeeper. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a great villain for Clark and everyone. He was smarter than Clark. He was smarter than any other Kryptonian he met. I can't remember if he met anyone else at the moment. I don't think so. He was also smarter than Lex, which is not hard to do. It is not easy to do in Smallville. Mm-hmm. And he was played by James Marsters, who, as you don't know, is, I'm guessing, Canadian?
James Marston? I don't...
Yeah.
Masters.
Yeah, sorry, James Marsters. Is it Masters or Marsters?
Marsters. James Marston, I believe, is Cyclops.
I James in Google, and his is the first name that pops up. It's like it's listening to us. No, he's American, California.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
And he was also a great villain on Torchwood.
And
yes, that's right.
As Captain John Hart.
Yep. God, I love Torchwood. And let's also not forget Spike on Buffy, like his easily most iconic role.
Yeah. And in Smallville, they even made a few nods to that.
That's right. That's right.
I definitely finish your thought, please.
So yeah, he was great. I love this character. And then kept using him over and over. Even when they couldn't get James, they still found ways to use him. Amazing in season 8, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. And I definitely remember that watching Smallville for the first time, all these random characters are supposed to be characters from the Superman mythos. It was only just a matter of guessing which is which. Mm-hmm. And I had a hard time figuring out who he was supposed to be before he long into that season. At first, I thought he was the T-1000 because he kills a guy by stabbing him with the finger, extending it outward. And I was like, okay. So the T-1000 is a Superman villain now.
Yeah, it's definitely like that version is definitely a different version from the comics. Obviously, like I mean, their motives are the same. Basically, in the comics, originally in the comics, Brainiac was a collector of cities. So if you go in a spaceship, not only would you see the lost city Kandor, but you'd see other cities as well. That was his main function. Was he was supposed to go to other worlds and collect them for research.
And he was also the main villain of the video game I mentioned previously, Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham, where he collects planets instead of cities.
He's out, but after Lex Luthor, he is, I'd say, probably Superman's most iconic villain. He's also the second villain, like major villain he's ever faced. And this James Marsden version was actually the very first live action version of Brainiac. Up until then, he'd never been done live action. Because how do you do a character like that? He
was supposed to be in Nicolas Cage's movie, as
yes,
as we've learned through the wonderful documentary "The Death of Superman Lives: What Happened" by the late great John Schnepp. And I gotta be honest. After watching that documentary, I kind of want to see that movie.
Yeah, I think the only way we'll get it now is animated, which I think would be pretty dope.
We did kind of get it, as sort of, where they did say in that movie that in the original version of the script, Brainiac and Luthor were supposed to merge into the same character and become Luthiac. Yeah. And we got that in season 2 of Justice League Unlimited, which I consider to be the best single season start to finish of television. As I mentioned previously in another show. And also the version from Supergirl is one of my favorite characters on this show right now.
Yeah, that's actually a different Brainiac.
I'm aware of that. It's Brainiac 5. But still it is Brainiac.
I agree. Like, personally, I'm with you. I would pick Brainiac 5 over Brainiac as a favorite character, to be honest.
I prefer Brainiac as a character over Brainiac 5, but that Brainiac 5 is my favorite version of the character so far.
Yeah, he's definitely a great Brainiac 5. Definitely a great Brainiac 5. Yeah. My turn now? My number 3?
Yeah. No.
I believe it is mine.
Okay, I just got to pop off for a second. I got to take a phone call. Be right back.
Okay.
So keep going. Yeah,
okay.
I'll be here.
Well, that's not awkward at all. In any case, my number 3, as I previously mentioned, is... a character that could have switched places with my number 4. It is another great friend of mine who has a great taste in colors, and that is the Green Lantern. And since Mr. Soda is not here, I shall answer his question for him. I am specifically referring to the Hal Jordan version of the character that is the most iconic. I did, however, grew up, just like with the Flash, I grew up with a different version. I grew up with the Jon Stewart version, which was my vision for the character for a long time. But later in life, I grew to love the Hal Jordan version even more. He has a great role to play in the first Injustice, Gods Among Us, as well as its sequel, voiced by 2 great voice actors, great character development. And first of all, can we all just acknowledge the fact that having a magic ring that can do whatever you want is the coolest fucking thing in the world. Can we please just acknowledge that?
Yep.
It is great. And I was hoping that Oh, there you are, Mr. Soda.
Yes, I do want to weigh in on this. Normally, Hal Jordan would be on my list. Very high, too, because, to be honest, Jeff Johns' book, Green Lantern Rebirth, is what reintroduced me into comics. Basically, you could blame that book for this collection I have next to me. Yeah, Hal Jordan is one of the most. If you look at Hal Jordan as a whole, not just his Green Lantern version, he's a very pivotal character in the DC universe, because not only was he Green Lantern, and then from there he went on to be the villain Parallax, who was like a destroyer of worlds. When he sacrifices himself there in the last night to save Earth, his spirit gets attached to the Spectre, so he becomes this eternal figure that is basically there to hand down judgment on people. And then from there, he gets resurrected and is a Green Lantern again. The dude, like I said, the dude's got quite the arc, but when he's written well, he is written amazing, and there is no better illustration of that than Jeff Johns' run. Easily top run on all of comics. For a while, that run made Green Lantern the top-selling comic in DC over Batman and Superman.
And one more thing I feel like I should point out. Another great reason why is one of my favorites, and definitely on my list. Something that, once again, I only figured out very recently. You see the Guardians? Yep. The Guardians of the Universe, according to the DC Comics, their visual design, and it was mostly inspired by the first Prime Minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion. You can definitely see the resemblance there.
Did not know that. I wonder how that connection happened.
I have no idea myself. Like I said, I only found that out recently. But it's still a very cool thing that I felt like I should point that out.
Sorry, David what?
David Ben-Gurion.
Because I want to find that connection. Green. I want to see if that actually was done on purpose.
I did some research, and apparently it was.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Really, really cool. Anywho, I guess it's my turn then.
Yeah.
So this character is the unsung hero of the DC universe. Booster Gold.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
I love Booster Gold.
Yes.
There, and this is again comics, and this is again focused on a Jeff Johns run. Basically, Booster Gold up until that point was basically the joke of the DC universe. He was a character. He was basically comic relief. He was. If you wanted a zany storyline, you threw Booster Gold and Ted Kord's Blue Beetle together, and there you go. But at a certain point, it would have been after Infinite Crisis, Rip Hunter, none other than Rip Hunter, gets a hold of Booster Gold and says, hey, there are anomalies in the universe. I need your help. So Booster Gold went throughout space and time and was saving worlds and doing all these events. But the only thing is, though, he couldn't tell anybody. So here he is, the most important man in the universe, saving everything. And his friends still think he's a goofball because he cannot tell them about the adventures he's doing. And I think that is a great story. And Jeff Johns nailed it out of the park. And I'm just going to quickly bring up, keep going, Ben. I'm going to bring up his biography a little bit, just so I can explain to people about Booster Gold.
I did have to say I love this character. I don't know him that well from the comics. From what I do know, I saw him in Smallville.
Exactly the same.
Yes. One of the best episodes of Smallville.
Yeah.
Especially in that final season.
And beauty thing, there's when they're doing the fan club stuff, and they got the fan club shirts. I actually had that shirt at the time because I had bought it at a comic book store, not knowing that they were going to be using it in the show.
They're only talking about maybe a Booster Gold movie, and I would still be down.
Me too.
And I think it's too late now. But it would have been awesome if Nathan Fillion was Booster Gold.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely a Nathan Fillion role. I can even see, honestly, Ryan Reynolds doing it. Just based on the way the character's written, I could see that has
something. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So this is who Booster Gold is. This is from the second edition DC Universe Comics Encyclopedia, which actually did help me with my list. And it's not a long thing. College quarterback and gambler Michael John Carter was banished from college athletics after many misdeeds. As night watchman at the Space Museum, Carter utilized Rip Hunter's time machine, stealing a security robot named Skeets, a Legion of Superheroes flight ring, and Brainiac 5's force field belt. He arrived back in the 20th century seeking fortune and fame as Booster Gold. Before long, he had put an end to the criminal conclave, the 1000, but the battle left him severely injured. Booster briefly returned to his home area to recover, then escaped to the past, accompanied by his sister Michelle. Soon after, Maxwell Lord began a Justice League of America recruitment drive. Booster joined up and befriended Blue Beetle 2, Ted Kord. As the Justice League battled the aliens at Dimension X, Booster Gold saw his sister Michelle perish. For a time, he led the corporate team, the Conglomerate, but finally returned to the League. Booster was inactive for a while after his powers were destroyed in a battle with Doomsday. Following Ice's funeral, Booster left the League again and joined the newly formed Extreme Justice. After Blue Beetle's death in the Infinite Crisis, Booster emerged on the scene in Metropolis both as himself and as the costumed Supernova. Faking his death let Booster expose Mr. Mind and his plot to destroy his multiverse. Booster joined Hunter to repair anomalies in the time stream, which leads into the book series that I was referencing. That's the best thing about his character is he's the greatest hero in the world and nobody knows it.
Yeah, and also great choice for a name. Michael John Carter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not to be confused with the other John Carter, who also gets displaced in space. Also, going back to Ben's earlier point, if you wanted to make a movie about him, he's definitely a character that you can just drop him into a movie without connecting him to any sort of universe because he works everywhere. He's so interchangeable.
And to be honest, you could make a movie with him and not have it tied to the other characters. Really.
Right.
Better late than never, I always say.
Hi, Mama Arrow.
You have failed this show.
Ooh, yeah, you're going to pay for that one later. All right. So, Ben, you're number 2.
My number 2. Deathstroke. Slade Wilson.
This one is definitely the Arrow version, right?
Yeah.
Oh God, the best
figured as much.
It is incredible, and in Arrow, I want to say more of an anti-hero, especially when he's also very cool.
Yeah.
And his relationship with Oliver, with you, Oliver, is so amazingly, it's done incredible. You feel his pain, you understand what he's going through, and he's a total badass. He's just amazing. I love him. Really well done. Matt, Oliver, your thoughts on it.
Let's Oliver go first.
You are forgiven. You are forgiven.
Just as long as you're not like Mora Queen, you're okay. That's
you mean the character who in her final moments asked herself to be killed by Deathstroke himself in order to spare her children?
Yes,
that Moira Queen.
That Moira Queen. Okay, everything leading up
which
to that.
Which is what mothers do.
Everything leading up to that point, then Fifth Arrow.
Thank you. You do not disrespect my mother in my presence.
Hey man, your mom's awesome. So is Moira.
Thank you.
Anywho, yes, 50, give your thoughts.
Again, it is a very cool character. It is such a character that works in so many different storylines. He's worked well as a Batman villain, as a Green Arrow villain, as a Teen Titans villain. That is another character that you can just throw him into any type of storyline, and he works. He even works well in the Titans show, which I am not a big fan of the second season, but he was great in it. And he was a great foil for myself in my own show. Also, I'm going to keep mentioning this movie until people watch it. Teen Titans Go to the Movies, where Slade really made an impact. Voiced by the incredible Will Arnett, who also voiced Batman. See how that works. And yes, it was also the whole name Slade came from the original Teen Titans show, where they called him Slade because they couldn't say the word death in a kids' TV show. Despite all the crazy weird shit that happened on that show, that was where they drew the line.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I am with you there, sir. That movie is underrated. I really do like Deathstroke. It's for me though. It's like when I look at him as a villain, it's like I don't know who I prefer him fighting against because he's very evenly matched with Batman, but he's also got the long history with the Teen Titans. So it's like I don't know who I prefer him going against. But
the Judas contract is one of the best storylines in the Teen Titans canon.
best, but also one of the most important as well.
Yes.
So this is his brief biography, according to the encyclopedia again. U.S. Army officer Slade Wilson volunteered for dangerous hormone experiments during the final years of his military service. Designed to increase brain capacity and create a super soldier, the experiments were deemed a failure. Most of the subjects died, or like Wilson, were left in a vegetative state. However, unknown to the Army, Wilson's strength, agility, and stamina had in fact increased nearly tenfold. Honorably discharged, Wilson recuperated and became the costume mercenary known as Deathstroke the Terminator, hiring himself out to the highest bidder. Wilson's career as an assassin led to the desolation of his marriage, the death of his 2 sons, and the enmity of several teams of Teen Titans, whom Deathstroke has been hired to terminate on more than one occasion. He nearly completed the contract when it was discovered that the disembodied spirit of his son Joseph, Jericho, a Titan killed by Deathstroke, has been residing within Deathstroke's own body. Deathstroke helped to organize the secret society of supervillains prior to the Infinite Crisis, killing the original Phantom Lady. Though his daughter Rose and his son Joseph have since joined the Teen Titans, Deathstroke assembled a team of Titans East, including Batgirl, Inertia, Match, Bombshell, and Risk, to work against them. And he's recently launched plots against the newest Justice League of America. That is his story pre-1998. But yes,
he also shows up in this, by the way. Just wanted to point that out.
But the Judas contract, I want to touch on a little bit because, like I said, that is a very important book in Marvel, DC, sorry, because that's the first appearance of Nightwing.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That's right. He just recently ditched the Robin model, and at the end of the Judas contract, he appears in the Disco Nightwing costume.
The most ridiculous costume from that era.
It definitely is. But also it just shows what Deathstroke is willing to do to infiltrate the team. He pretty much does he brainwash Terra? 50?
I cannot remember. But I believe it fits well with his modus operandi.
Very sure, because he has a teen infiltrate the Teen Titans from within named Terra, and then at the end it's revealed that she's been working with them the whole time. She's really like this crazy like Russian person, and she dies in the destruction she causes. Her powers is basically like the name insists, it's with Earth, Terra. She can manipulate the ground and anything Earth. It's quite. She was basically the Winter Soldier before the Winter Soldier existed. Exactly, Winter Soldier with actual powers.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think our good companion Saul would have appreciated her, as she is an Earthbender, like one of her favorite shows.
Yeah. What I think I'm going to do is in the descriptions, I'm going to take the list of our characters. I'm going to put, if you want to read the comics on these guys, these are the ones you read.
Yes. I just now realized he's basically like the DC version of Taskmaster.
Yep. Yeah.
Even got the similar color scheme.
Let's not forget the most important thing Deathstroke gave to us. Deadpool.
Slade! Oh, that thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's that thing. Deadpool. Because if it wasn't for Slade Wilson, we wouldn't have Wade Wilson.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see Joe Manganiello play him. Go ahead, Mr. Ben.
I wonder, we have seen 3 versions of Deathstroke on live action before. With Ursula Oliver, with Lois and Clark, and with Smallville.
I forgot about Lois and Clark.
He was in Lois and Clark as well?
Yeah, but he didn't look like Deathstroke. It was a weird version of Deathstroke.
Okay.
And name only. I'll send you a clip of it.
Which one's weirder, the Smallville version or the Lois and Clark version? Because
Lois
both of those are so different.
Lois and Clark is the weirdest version, in my opinion. Because at least you have those Wilson's name in Smallville.
Yeah, but that's it. Like in that, he's just a military guy who goes crazy.
Well, they give him
as you do.
They give him one eye.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's not. To be honest, it's the Manu Bennett version of Arrow of Deathstroke that is like the gold standard now.
And let me ask you this: what is Mortal Kombat? Can you see Manu Bennett play Kano?
Nothing to take away from the guy that just did it, but yeah, I could have seen Manu Bennett play him.
I agree.
Yeah.
But the guy who did it to perfection.
Oh god, yeah. The guy who did it in this movie was great.
Yeah. Okay. Oliver, you're number 2.
My number 2, and I wish I brought a prop with me. I guess I got too nervous getting into this costume that I forgot, but it's Aquaman, the man of aquas.
Yeah.
So, leading up to the Aquaman movie, I decided to catch up on the character. So, I sat down and basically read every single comic book issue featuring the character from the 1940s all the way to 2018, which is where the movie came out. So, I read about somewhere in the area of 900 comics about the character, which is simultaneously both impressive and disturbing. But yes, I absolutely love this character, especially his run during the late 80s and 90s, which is the version that really inspired this version of Aquaman, where he was no longer the goofy red, orange shirt, green pants character. He became a badass pirate king of the seas with a hook for a hand and a long blonde beard. And he was an absolute badass. And also his sidekick, Aqualad, which was also renamed Garth to make him a little bit cooler. Yeah, he had a great storyline in that iteration of the character. I didn't quite appreciate the whole King Arthur mythos that they introduced in the early 2000s with the character, and I absolutely hated how the character went out before the New 52 and the, well, which crisis was it? Something Crisis, and
wait, the New 52?
Before the New 52, before the New
Crisis. That's what in the 90s.
Yes, look at this awesome person, and just remove the orange costume, the orange shirt, because he didn't have that. He was basically shirtless for the majority of that run. Yeah, I believe he also had different colored pants, but yeah,
he did, yeah. But
he was the badass king of Atlantis, even when Atlantis became. Went up to the surface at one point, and he was fighting with different other Atlantean, not really Atlantean, but different undersea cultures. And I don't know. I can literally sit here and talk for an entire episode about that version of Aquaman.
Yeah,
but yeah, I loved that. Like I said, I didn't too much appreciate the King Arthur version of him, where he had the magic hand that was made entirely of water. But it was a good enough storyline. And like I said, I hated how his character went out in the final crisis. Didn't much appreciate his reiteration in the New 52 version. But after the Jeff Johns version, he very much went back to being the Aquaman that I enjoyed. And also, I just wanted to point out that in the later years of that late 80s, 90s run, there was certain scenes were basically remade shot for shot in the Black Panther movie. Really? Like the entire Black Panther in the United Nations speech, that was pretty much shot for shot remake of certain panels from that Aquaman run, going so far as to copying the hand gestures that he was making during that scene.
So just let me get this right. You don't like the Jeff Johns run? Sorry,
Not particularly.
Okay, because see, I'm the opposite. That is my favorite run, just because of one thing. While the 90s Aquaman is the best looking one, what I appreciate about the Jeff Johns run is that's actually where the tide started to turn, where he's no longer just the goofy guy.
I appreciate that pun.
But yeah, that's basically when they started to turn him from the goofy guy who can talk to fish to the badass ruler of the seven seas in that comic.
I would make the argument that he was already the badass ruler of the seven seas way before that.
I agree, he was, but this is the run that introduced that concept to the mainstream. Is what I'm trying to say. This is where the whole world started to see maybe Aquaman isn't as goofy as we thought. And
in my opinion, he wasn't as goofy as we thought all the way back in the 60s when Black Manta killed his son.
Yes, and I want to bring that up.
He almost killed Aqualad in the process.
Okay, let me break down the comparison even more. This is the run that eliminated the Super Friends stigma of Aquaman. Does that make sense? because that's where everyone gets the goofy guy who talks to fish is from that.
I agree. The goofy guy was in the Super Friends, which was after the 60s run. I agree with that.
Because Aquaman is a tragic figure. In 50, you know more about that than I do. Talk about the time he watched his son die.
And he was powerless to save him. And what made it even worse is that later...
That's true.
Yeah. I agree with that. But let's not forget the fact that after that he went after Black Manta, and Mara realized that her son wasn't actually dead, but he was dying, and Aquaman failed to save him because he was too busy getting revenge on Black Manta, and he let his son die in the process, and she blamed him for it, which really had a huge impact on him going forward into the 70s and 80s. Hence the reason why he ditched the ridiculousness and became the beard hook hand figure.
Yeah.
And also, can we just...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Can we just agree that Jason Momoa in the abs with a hook for a hand is the best sounding visual I have for the DCEU going forward from now on?
Absolutely.
I wonder if they're maybe going to do that, because basically that version of Aquaman is an amalgamation. Is an amalgamation of the 90s look with the Jeff Johns run, is what it is. And I don't know if you heard this, 50, but they dropped the title of the new movie yesterday, eh?
I think I heard they did, but I don't remember what the name was. The Lost Kingdom, I think.
Yeah.
Give me Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Yeah. How excited for you are this?
Well, considering the fact that leading up to the Aquaman movie, I basically read every single major Aquaman storyline. And in the movie, they pretty much did every single major Aquaman storyline in just 2 hours. I'm curious to see where they're going to take the movie forward. Amen. And also, can I just see, I want to see the return of the drum-playing octopus Topo, which was his sidekick during the 60s.
In the comics, yeah.
And also, one final point. Aquaman had a very good appearance on the aforementioned Justice League show, where he also had a hook hand, but from a different reason entirely. This time it was to save his son.
Yeah, Aquaman is a character that I'm glad is finally getting the recognition he gets deserved. Because if you think about it, you have all these heroes that can cover all the land, but only one man covers the 7 seas.
Which are bigger than land on this planet.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and also Aquaman, beautiful in 4K. Gorgeous.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it. I haven't actually revisited since the movie, since the theatrical run.
If you ever make your way to this side, 50, we'll sit down and watch it in 4K.
Very well. I shall take you up on that offer.
That is a promise. So my turn now.
Yep.
I believe so.
So this is my favorite version of Superboy. Superboy Prime. So this Superboy is a I'll get into that later, but this version is
point of order. Are we allowing different versions of the same character on our lists?
Yes, because this is a multiverse villain.
Okay. Oh, I was not aware that was a rule.
Yeah, so I don't know if it is. Ben never said anything. That's why I went with it.
And open. And could have been anybody except for Batman and Superman.
Okay, so Superboy Prime was first introduced in the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. He is the last survivor of his multiverse. Basically, same origin as Superman up until that point, but this is like him as a young kid sort of thing. However, the only difference is in his world, he's the only superhero. He's the only person with powers. And so Crisis happens, and in order to keep everything safe, they put all the surviving versions of Superman and his family hidden so it doesn't affect the time stream. So for many years, it was Alexander Luthor, Superboy Prime, the Golden Age Superman and the Golden Age Lois were locked in the Fortress of Solitude on their own. After a while, Superboy Prime, his psyche started to crack a little bit, and he started punching the walls of his prison, and by doing that, changed the course of the entire DC universe as we know it. Because from that action, we got Jason Todd's resurrection, We got changes to all the everyone's backstories. Like literally, like a whole bunch changed from this. Infinite Crisis happens. He's revealed to be one of the main villains because he wants to get back to his Earth. He can't quite grasp the concept that his Earth is no longer around. And he really loses his shit when he finds out that there is another Superboy that has been living with his name. So he goes batshit crazy and he ends up killing that Superboy, this Superboy. And from there, he gets lost in time. And then he ends up in the era of the Legion of Superheroes, where he gets mad that they have forgotten him to history and basically consider him what he really is, a whiny teenager who just wants to have his way. So they resurrect. So in the future, the Legion resurrects Superboy and Kid Flash to battle him in an epic showdown, and he ends up getting transported back to his Earth. Now, here's one of the weird things about this Earth. All the stuff that we know about, like Superman, like all the adventures, actually happen on this Superboy's Earth. However, they're happening in comic book form. And because of that, his family sees what he did and completely, like, he's treated like a monster. He's lost all his powers at this point. He's in the basement. They're freaking terrified of him. He is crazy enough. He actually carved the Superman logo into his chest with his finger.
Oof.
Yeah, he is a great villain. And there was a while there where he was called Superman Prime because behind the scenes there was a lawsuit with the creators of Superboy over the names and stuff like that. So they couldn't actually say Superboy for a while. But yeah, he is a badass villain because he's a different take on a character we know. And he's one that he wants to get back home, but he wants to do it at any means necessary.
You're muted, Ben.
You said something that got me thinking. You said he covered his ass in his chest. Remember in Smallville when Clark did that?
Yep.
I was about to point that out, yes.
What do you think we got it from?
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, that's where they got it from. Yeah, Superboy Prime is a very underrated villain. And honestly, if I'm going to recommend any story involving him, it is Legion of Three Worlds.
Wow.
What I'm going to try to do is in the description after the fact, I'm trying to list, like I said, all the comics that I think are best representative of these characters. And for me, it's that one. That book has, I don't know why, because I never really was a Legion of Superheroes fan, but that book had a massive impact on me. That's because I got the tattoo.
No.
So basically, all versions of Superboy are on your list except for the.
It was just the two. It was just the two. Like the other version is just Superman as a little kid. It's nothing important.
And then with the annoying hair and the stupid golden chains and stupid costume.
Yeah.
Yes. The late 90s Aquaman version that I mentioned in my previous pick beat him like a little bitch.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. And he came back and he beat him again. So
yeah. And
I just wanted to point that out. Aquaman beat Superboy, and then later in a different run, Aquaman basically destroyed the entire Justice League on his own.
True. And also I don't want to forget that he actually has appeared as a villain. See right there, carved the S in his chest with his fucking finger. But I do also want to bring up he actually was an antagonist in the Sinestro Corps War, where he sided with Sinestro on as a Yellow Lantern. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely recommend reading Superboy Prime stuff because damn, it's good. But that's my number 2.
All right. You know, the new honorable mentions, and Matt, do you want to read out the source for this?
So this is the most I've ever had. I have 8 mentions. I have Roy Harper.
Grab a seat, Ben. It'll take a while.
Oh, shush. We have Roy Harper, who we all know as Speedy or Arsenal. The Question.
I like that character, yes.
Yeah, me too. The Question, who is like he's a detective, a faceless detective. He is basically
detective.
Yeah, he's a detective who just gets his
doesn't have a face.
He doesn't have a face, and he's able to find stuff that nobody else will find. Pariah, which is a character that is mostly known for the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Basically, he was a harbinger. If he shows up, if you're planet's about to die. Basically, his penance for his sin is he has to watch civilizations die and cannot do anything about it. The Spectre, because I think that's just a cool concept, how it latches on to fallen heroes and is like gods.
I remember that myself. Thank you.
Yeah. The Cassandra Sandsmark version of Wonder Woman, which is for a long time in the comics, Connor Kent's girlfriend. Bibbo Babowski, who is
that version.
Yes, Cassandra Sandsmark is in that comic. Bibbo Babowski, who is Superman's his favorite superhero. He owns a bar basically in the bad part of Metropolis called the Ace of Clubs bar, I think it is. And basically, because of what his profession is or whatever, he gives information to Superman or Jimmy Olsen that he feels is relevant and whatever. So basically, he's like an informant of sorts. But he also will, if somebody assaults Superman, he will punch your lights out. And then my final two are Brainiac 5 and the Huntress, the Helena Wayne version of the Huntress, the original Huntress, not the Helena Bertinelli. Although Helena Bertinelli is really good, I just think there's some pretty good stories with the Helena Wayne version as well, who is the daughter of Golden Age Batman and Golden Age Catwoman.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's it for my honorable mention.
Okay. Let me go real quick. Brainiac 5, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Mr. Mixip Dr. Fate, and people from Legends of Tomorrow.
Very, very nice.
Oh, yeah, people.
That was great. Yeah. All right, 50. What about you?
My honorable mentions include a character that
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I apologize for that, but my honorable mentions include a character sort of related to the Hawkman character that Ben mentioned, Hawk Girl, my preferred version of the two, which we've seen both in Legends of Tomorrow and also in the aforementioned Justice League cartoon. That was my introduction to the character.
But which versions though? Because there are two distinct versions. You got the Thanagarian version, and then you also have the resurrected version.
I prefer the Thanagarian version, but I thought it didn't matter since DC combined both of them into the same character, because DC does that sometimes.
Okay,
by sometimes I mean
I actually haven't read modern comics in a while, so a lot of my knowledge is still like older stuff. So I didn't know they actually merged the two versions. But
yes, I do prefer the Thanagarian version. Also, I have to say myself, the Green Arrow. A lot of the modern superhero universes wouldn't exist without the show that I was introduced in. And can I just ask you a quick question, Mr. Soda? That shirt right there behind you, underneath that wrestler puppet, there, the one with the helmet, is that Shining Knight?
That is actually the Vegas Golden Knights hockey team.
Okay, it looks a lot like Shining Knight.
It does, doesn't it?
A Golden Age character who has recently appeared in Stargirl, the TV show. Not my favorite superhero show, but it's worth seeing it just for the Golden Age characters that appear on that one.
Right on. Before we go on to Souls List and we go under number ones, I do want to give a shout out, because we've talked about Hal Jordan and we've talked about Oliver Queen. I want to give a shout out to the two people that replaced them in the 90s. Connor Hawke, the illegitimate son of Green Arrow, who took over for Oliver Queen while he was presumed dead, had a decent run. But also Kyle Rayner, who the Green Lantern, who if it wasn't for him, I have a strong feeling Green Lantern wouldn't have survived, because he pretty much led the renaissance of Green Lantern up until Hal Jordan returned. And basically every power ring comes from his power ring that he got, because his was the last one. And basically he is the savior of the Green Lantern Corps, to the point where he was Ion at one point, and he was also the White Lantern. Like, he is a pivotal character in DC as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now
he's also the most powerful of the Green Lanterns.
No, yeah, that's right. Yes. And for Soul's List, she has at number 5, Raven, number 4, Barbara Gordon, number 3, Lois Lane, who was originally on my list, but I took off because she's like one of the famous characters, Harley Quinn, and Wonder Woman. So that is Soul's List.
Okay.
And Ben,
Look, and as per usual, she only went with the female characters, while we only went with the male characters.
Well, Ben, what's your number one?
You're going to feel first. Wonder Woman.
That is my number one as well.
Not mine. Not even close to my list for obvious reasons, but I'll gladly talk about Wonder Woman all day.
Oliver, why don't you take the lead on this one?
Well, if I were to make a comic book superheroes Mount Rushmore, which is the reason why I hate Mount Rushmore, the concept of Mount Rushmore to begin with, where you can only have 4, and I hate that concept. I talked about it last week on a stereo show with Dagan and Corey that you should probably follow if you still know what stereo is. But I don't like the concept of Mount Rushmore, but I'll play along. If I had to make a Mount Rushmore of comic book heroes, my Mount Rushmore would mostly be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Spider-Man. All 4 very influential in their own right. And Wonder Woman, not the first female superhero, but definitely the most iconic first one. The one that put female superheroes on the map.
And I love how the first 3 in and around Rushmore are considered the holy trinity of superheroes. That's why. Also, I mean, it goes back to the point of why I don't like the concept of Mount Rushmore. You got 3 DC guys and 1 Marvel guy. Also 3 men and 1 woman. So it's, how is that equal? But still, we can talk about that on a different show. In any case, Wonder Woman popularized the idea of female superheroes in much the same way that Spider-Man popularized the idea of teenage heroes. Superman popularized the idea of superheroes in general, and Batman influenced and sort of popularized the idea of superheroes without any powers. And Wonder Woman, first of all, in the movies, she's played by an Israeli, so of course I gotta support. But even if without the amazing Gal Gadot playing her, she would have been on my list, definitely. She was my personal introduction to female superheroes as a child. Once again, the Justice League and Justice League cartoon. There's a moment in that episode, in one of the episodes, where Superman gets himself knocked out, and Wonder Woman picks him up in her arms. That was as a young child. That was like, that was my first introduction to women lifting men, and that was a bit of my introduction to the idea of strong women, and I follow that idea ever since. Strong women are good. I like the strong women. I'm not making myself look good. What? Wonder Woman has, like, on my personal life, has a profound impact, and I'm just starting to realize that now. Like, Wonder Woman was like the first superhero that turned me into a drooling idiot. like for me, she's like my all-time superhero crush, and I'm starting to realize maybe that's why I kind of have like a thing for, like, not like really ripped women, but like strong women. I think it's because of her.
And the admiration for strong women. And who also mentioned he had a similar experience, and that's why he's a fan of beautiful black-haired women. Mike Kalinowski.
Yeah.
He also mentioned that in an interview. And Wonder Woman, I believe, has impacted all of us men in a way, and showed us that, hey, it's okay to like female characters even if you're a man. It doesn't make you any less of a man if you enjoy strong female characters. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite shows growing up was the Powerpuff Girls. It never once bothered me that they were all girls. It never bothered me once. It's okay to like girl superheroes.
That one just missed me. Powerpuff Girls.
And let me say Wonder Woman's movie?
Yeah.
Awesome movie in this modern era. Easily on top 5. Easily on top 10 comic book movie for me.
That second act, No Man's Land scene that ends with the ransacking of that city is one of the greatest scenes, not just superhero movies, but movies, period.
Which boggles my mind even more that Warner Brothers thought it was a good idea to cut that scene out of the movie. What were you even thinking?
Yeah, Warner Brothers should
stay out. And also the scene at the beginning of Wonder Woman 2.
But yes, Ben, sorry we interrupted you. What were you about to say?
Yes, sorry, my bad.
I gotta love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
I've said it multiple times. She can make me her filthy cabana boy any day. This has been an idea that I've been thinking about getting for a tattoo for a long time, because I mentioned earlier that Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman are considered the Holy Trilogy, and they actually had a comic book series called Trilogy, and this was the logo for that series. I've been strongly considering getting that as a tattoo for many years.
Cool.
That
is a great logo. I'll admit that.
It is. I do want to touch on one era of Wonder Woman I don't know if you guys have ever are aware of. Do you know about Wonder Woman in the 1960s?
Not so much.
This is the brief excerpt from Wikipedia, thank God. We're Silver Age. At the end of the 1960s, under the guidance of Mike Sikowski, who was the writer at the time, Wonder Woman surrendered her powers in order to remain in man's world rather than accompany her fellow Amazons to another dimension. She begins using the alias Diana Prince and opens a mod boutique. She acquires a Chinese mentor named Ai Ching, who teaches Diana martial arts and weapon skills. Using her fighting skill instead of her powers, Diana engaged in adventures that encompassed a variety of genres, from espionage to mythology. Basically, they did this because the thing at the time was like the Emma Peel Avengers, like the sexy female ass kicker. So they kind of went for that aesthetic, and honestly, it didn't work. It is a horrible period in her comics, because it's like, that's not Wonder Woman.
I agree.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I wanted to show you guys something. They did kind of use that logo in other CW. With this.
Kinda, yeah. They got rid of that logo, yeah. First time I've seen this, actually.
Yeah. Myself as well.
That's
dope. Where are the legends in that logo?
Yeah, I think they made before Legends.
Yeah, 2016. This was before Legends. Yeah.
I thought Legends and Supergirl was introduced in the same year.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yep,
but that first crossover in 2016 did not include any of the teams, any of those guys.
Oh, okay, that is cool.
That explains it. Yeah. All right, Mr. Green Arrow.
No, my number one was Wonder Woman. It is your turn, I believe.
Oh, okay. So this is, as much as I love Wonder Woman and how much she has the biggest, now dawning on me, huge impact on my life. My favorite character that's not part of the Justice League is another female character, Barbara Gordon, but specifically Barbara Gordon as Oracle. For those of you who don't know, Barbara Gordon not the original Batgirl, but probably the most famous Batgirl, partially due to the 1960s TV show. But basically, she fought alongside Batman and Robin for many years, up until the famous book, The Killing Joke, where Joker paralyzed her by shooting her straight through her spine. And instead of like writing off the character and making her whatever, they did something that hadn't been done before, and they made her very much the nerve center of the DC universe. She was the original Watchtower. Pretty much, she was the woman in the chair. Yeah, the woman in the chair, the one who's giving all the information, the one who's doing all the hacking, the one who's doing all that stuff to help the superheroes. She is the command center. She is she helped everyone from the Justice League to her own team, the Birds of Prey, which was Huntress, Black Canary, Cassandra Cain. Cassandra Cain. So yeah, basically she ran everything behind the scenes without anybody realizing it. She at one point got engaged to Dick Grayson because they've been on and off in love for many years. Like, she was doing her own life, but then then the creators of DC made a decision that I'm still, I guess, 16 years later, not a fan of. They took her away from Oracle. They put a chip in her spine to help her walk, and they reintroduced her as Batgirl. And for me, I was like, I didn't like that, because I thought Oracle was a great representation for kids who are disabled, to show you can do anything you want to.
Yeah.
What? How many years ago was that?
Well, it would have been the New 52, so that would have been about 16 years ago.
Okay, so they did that well. Because
so that's probably where they got the idea for Arrow from, was from that.
Okay.
Yeah. They tried to do that on my show, and it clearly didn't work. So they basically did the same thing. They put a chip in Felicity and made her walk again.
Wait, Wait, Oracle.
Oh, sorry, 10 years ago, not 15 years ago. My bad.
10 years ago.
But it feels like 16 to you, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what came first, that or Arrow.
2011.
That.
Yeah.
Well, the Oracle stuff was in the 90s. The Killing Joke was, I believe, 1993.
I thought it was 80s.
I may be wrong about that. You're the one with the computer. You can check it out. But also, quick, yeah. Okay.
Is Oracle the one where they got the idea for Watchtower and Felicity? And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They pretty much every time you see a character like that, the origin is Barbara Gordon.
Okay.
She was the first person to be in, like, as we know it.
She, like I said previously, she popularized that idea.
Yeah, exactly. It was a major bummer when they made her Batgirl again, because I thought there was just a whole lot more they could have done with her in a wheelchair, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Also, whatever you do not watch the animated movie of The Killing Joke.
Didn't hate it.
It works. It works if you skip the prologue.
See, here's the thing. I don't hate the prologue, to be honest, because it is a precedent that was already set. It is something that has happened before. The relationship between Bruce Wayne and Barbara Gordon. In the Batman Beyond comics that they did about 10 years ago, that is actually something that is deeply discussed. And part of the reason why Nightwing hates Batman is because of the relationship with Barbara Gordon. It is something that is actually a precedent. So it didn't bother me that they did it because I've seen it before.
Well, I wasn't specifically referring to that. It was just the rest of what they tried to make into a full story. You can kind of see that they kind of drew it in crayons in 5 minutes.
You're definitely not wrong. The book is definitely the definitive version, but I mean, I like that they added that just to give motivation to Batman to why it affected him so deeply. Like, I mean, you can get it from the comic.
I think you could have done without that, but that's
you could have, but it's not something that didn't upset me that they showed.
Fine.
Yeah. Alrighty. So next
at least they showed Barbara as Oracle in the end.
Yes, exactly. We did get that. Yeah, I recommend reading The Killing Joke. Joker does some really bad stuff to her, unfortunately, after he shoots her, though.
For those of you who are Joker fans and like to cosplay as Joker and think Joker is the best, read that one.
Well, he is the best bad guy. Like,
no, but people who like to identify themselves as the Joker, maybe that'll change them.
Yeah, give a little bit of context to that. He shoots her, and then for part of his plan, in order to drive Jim Gordon insane, he takes explicit pictures of a wounded Barbara Gordon naked on the ground.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's ever hinted at if they taken it a bit further than that as well.
I knew.
Also, Jim Gordon himself was naked during that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, there's a whole thing about trying to prove how one bad day can make anybody insane.
I knew wanted to point out something. There's 3 of us. We had 15 characters today. Not one of us picked Joker.
Yep.
I was going for the superheroes. I would like to have a separate list for villains.
Yeah. And for me, it fell into the same category as why I left off a lot of the Justice League, because he's the fucking Joker.
He's the definitive DC villain.
The definitive villain. Like, I mean, so that's like, there's other characters that I think we need to talk about. But yes, I agree. A villains list, he's up there.
And none of us got up Lex Luthor.
Same reason.
Same reason.
Okay.
Even though there are versions of Lex Luthor as a hero, I prefer to think of him as the villain.
All right. I will agree with you, 50. Michael Rosenbaum, best Lex Luthor.
Agreed.
Second place, John Cryer.
Yeah, John Cryer. All right, so that's an end to this list. Holy crap, we almost went an hour and a half. That's what
happens when we don't have Soul to steer us back on the right track.
Yeah, see why we need you, Soul. No, next week, I'm gonna.
She's not gonna watch. Why?
I
She's
know,
not
I
watching the show.
Next week's topic actually will go into Saul's strength. It's the flip side of this topic. It is the top 5 Marvel characters with the same caveat as Ben. You can't have. I'm going to name 2. You can't have Captain America and you can't have Iron Man. Those are the only 2 I will say you cannot have on your list.
I thought you said you can't have all the Avengers.
That's me personally. I'm saying, but for the sake of this, to keep it in the same theme, we'll go with the 2 iconic ones from the movies, Captain America and Iron Man.
I'm going to say it.
Stark. How's about that? Because there are other versions of the characters you could use.
Fair enough. I will say this though. My number 1 and 2 were going to be those characters anyway.
Mine too.
But I'll say it right here. Captain America would have been my number 3.
Captain America is my number 1. Like all-time Marvel. But because of that and because it's Captain America, I think it's just fair to shine spotlight on characters that don't normally get talked about, because there's a lot of great characters that are kind of overshadowed by those.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, that I can't wait, because as Saul mentioned this last week, she's more of a Marvel girl, so I actually can't wait to hear her list.
If she's even going to be on the show,
here. And I can't honestly wait to hear your guys' lists as well, because there's going to be a lot of different diversity. Spoilers: I'm probably going to go with the comic versions of my characters.
I'm probably going. I will tell you, I will do the same thing I did today. Movies and TV. Hope that's okay.
No, that's fine. However you approach these characters is fine. Just for me, because I'm pretty versed in the MCU, but it's just there's a lot of comic stuff that you could go into as well. So plus I had the Marvel version of this encyclopedia as well. So
okay.
I just so happen to have it right here.
Yep, I brought it out for when I started doing this little list, the DC list. And, of course, the Superman files as written by Brainiac 5.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, so that's the end of our show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Ben, where could everybody find you?
You can find me in 2 hours on Mount Schmoredown.
So it's 2 hours, right? Last week I was confused. I thought it was just 1 hour after this show.
That's at 1 o'clock Pacific time.
Yep.
Okay.
2 hours. Today we're covering the new evil, Shang-Chi. And we might have a surprise for you, so tune in to that. And
you and your surprises.
Yeah,
I'll talk about that after Raw Fair.
And every Tuesday you can find me on Shooting the Breeze with Matt Lee on this channel. And Friday on Recapping the Past with Matt. And right here, every Saturday on Get Ready with these people.
Alrighty, and 50 Shades of Arrow, when you're not perusing the rooftops of Star City, where can everybody find you?
Well, a few years ago, you could have found me on the Arrowverse as the Green Arrow. But as far as my agent, the original 50 Shades, you can find him on his channel, 50 Shades of Geek. You can also find him on Twitch, 50 Shades O Geek without the F. All of his live streams will eventually go on his second channel, 50 Shades of Gaming. You can also find, it finally dropped his Fan League match against the former champion in... Yes, you can pretty much... Yes, I agree with that assessment. I agree with that assessment. You can also find 50 Shades of Geek on a Multiplex Entertainment, his Fan League match against the former champion in 2 divisions of fandom fights. It finally dropped last weekend. And you can also check out his Patreon, patreon.com/Pokemon Star Cross and Crescent. He is designing a Pokemon fan game based on Israel, the country he lives in. And I believe you can catch him later tonight on Let's Talk About Star Wars with Taco and Evan Bushkar, also known as Gold Leader. Is that?
That is correct. That is tonight. I will plug that. I'll plug that show more in a minute.
All right, then go ahead. I'm done.
So you can find me over on my personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. You can find me on all the shows Ben has said on this network. You can also find me over on my other channel, Schmoes of the North, where every week we break down the matches of the week in Schmodown. We also do have several shows over there, and one of them is just exactly what Mr. Oliver Queen said. It is called Let's Taco about Star Wars, because one of the hosts is named Taco. Its co-host is none other than Gold Leader from the movie series Schmodown. And today's show is going to be fun. It's actually going to be a game of sorts. Basically, it's alien or not. Taco is going to list off some aliens and their descriptors, and it is up to the people on the show to guess whether they belong in the Star Wars universe or if they're from somewhere else. And bonus points if you can pinpoint where they're from. And here's the beauty. All the people that are going to be guessing, none of them have a vast knowledge of that other than Gold Leader.
Oh, does that include me?
You're in there as well. Yeah, you're one of the contestants who has to guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get into it after the show.
This might this might goes into what I was going to pick as my topic for when it will be 50 Shades' turn, I believe.
Well, okay then. Well, check out that show tonight. Check out, like and subscribe to everything that we have promoted. We will see you next week on the next edition of Get Sweaty, where we're doing the top 5 Marvel characters. We'll see you then next week, everybody. Stay sweaty and smash cancer.
Smash cancer.